But on the issue of race, on the treatment of African Americans specifically, even being terrible at what they're doing has still proven to be disastrous for our country. And it is, in part, the posturing from the White House and the president. That is stuff that validates and excites the worst bigots in the country, and that is consequential. But it's more than that, too. We are now about 16 months into what has been from day one a concerted and intense targeting of Black Americans, specifically by this president and by this administration. On his first full day in office, he proclaims war on diversity efforts, not only in government, but in any institution in the country over which he can exert leverage, everything from schools and universities to law firms to private businesses of every stripe. He then immediately started firing some of the highest profile Black public officials in the whole U.S. government, seemingly regardless of any other thing about them. I mean, right away, we get the firing of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Charles C.Q. Brown. We get the firing of the Librarian of Congress, Carla Hayden. And then it's Gwynne Wilcox from the National Labor Relations Board. And then it's Robert Primus, the chair of the Surface Transportation Board. And then it's Alvin Brown from the NTSB. And then it's Peggy Carr, the head of the National Center for Education Statistics. And then it's Willie Phillips from FERC, from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. And then it's Lisa Cook from the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, and on and on and on. When Trump and his top political donor, Elon Musk, then started just lopping off huge swaths of the federal government to disastrous practical effect, the largest and most egregious cuts targeted federal agencies that employed a disproportionate number of Black employees. Reporter Erica Green wrote about this a few months ago for The Times, noting that nothing had moved backwards in the federal government for Black Americans this quickly or this far in over 100 years. Since Woodrow Wilson came in 1912 and resegregated the federal workforce. Quote, Black employees were fired or demoted to lower level jobs, relegated to separate and inferior lunchrooms and other facilities, and accused of making white women feel unsafe. Those who remained were humiliated. A Black worker in the Postal Service was surrounded by screens, so white workers would not have to look at him. Another employee had a cage built around him to separate him from his white counterparts. A clerk in the Treasury Secretary's office was assigned to rewrite all correspondence to address Black employees by their first names. The way Trump addressed the Librarian of Congress, Carla Hayden, by her first name when he crowed publicly about firing her for no reason. In the year of our Lord, 2025, and now 2026, this president and this administration is not just inheriting that history from the Wilson administration, it's furthering it in its own ways. Since 1965, there has been an executive order in effect. It was signed by Lyndon Johnson, 1965. Since 1965, all federal contractors have been banned by executive order from discriminating on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or national origin. Donald Trump rescinded that 1965 rule on his first full day in office. Less than a month later, Trump announced another rule change. They rescinded Clause 52.222-21 of the Federal Acquisition Regulation, which doesn't sound like much, but I'll tell you what the title of that is. It's Prohibition of Segregated Facilities. That's what Trump rescinded less than 1 month into being back in the White House. That section reads, quote, the contractor agrees that it does not and will not maintain or provide for its employees any segregated facilities at any of its establishments, and that it does not and will not permit its employees to.
Hello brothers and sisters, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you are doing great from wherever you're watching this video from. I'm your host and presenter, Agent Extraordinaries. I'm gonna tell you something. Black people are not fools. Black people are smart more than we all can think. And sometimes people take Black voices for granted, but they all know what they're doing. Perfect example is what is currently happening in the United States. We know very well, Americans know very well, that Trump has been targeting Black Americans for the longest time. And this is something that has been going on. Anything dealing with the Black history, anything dealing with Black people knowing their true origin, Black people knowing who they are, and Black people knowing where they come from. Because all that America wants black people to get to know where they come from the voices of white people. When we have black people, when we have black authors, when we have black poets that talks about the black history, that talks about black people and how black people should know themselves, usually, majority of time, Trump calls that as propaganda. So many times, black people have been targeted, racially targeted by the Trump's regime, or definitely by Trump. We can say that. So this is something that has been going on for the longest time. And it is good that we are seeing this is catching wind to also people that are observing this, and they are ready to talk about it, because we are just trying to ask ourselves this question: why is Trump targeting black people? Why is Trump targeting black Americans? And this didn't start by even physically. It started by Trump banning black history books, banning black libraries, like all these things that happened. And we all know that it happened, and it is part of history, because there's something about the truth about black people that they are afraid of. There is something that they don't want black people to know. And they know damn well that if black people get the information, or if black people know what is really going on, they're going to fight back. That's all they know. And I think he's afraid of this. And so whatever he's doing is trying to project the fear. And I'm trying to tell you, there was nothing like great America, because there's nothing great about America. So when they say make America great again, there is nothing great about it, because it was full of fear of other people getting better, knowing better, doing things better than they can, black people inventing a lot of things, more than they can ever do. And all this just gives them to be afraid. This just makes them to be afraid. And all this has been a projection of being afraid of black people. And that's why you are seeing all these attacks going on, right? So brothers and sisters, I just want us to watch this video, and then I'll be back. I'll be giving my 2 cents in regards to this. And if you're watching me for the first time, you know I'm your host and presenter Agent Stories. So stay tuned as you watch the video. I'll be back.
Perform their services at any location under its control where segregated facilities are maintained. That anti-segregation clause has been in government contracts for decades. Donald Trump overtly reached out to rescind it, which means, bluntly, that the federal government no longer explicitly prohibits contractors from having segregated restaurants, waiting rooms, and drinking fountains. Make America great again, right? Recently fired and sidelined employees in the Department of Housing and Urban Development have started sounding the alarm that the Trump administration is no longer, just bluntly, no longer enforcing a federal law known as the Fair Housing Act. Fair Housing Act, another pillar of the civil rights movements and its achievements. The Fair Housing Act dates to 1968. It says you can't refuse to rent to someone or refuse to sell a house to someone on account of their race or their color or religion or national origin or any other factor against which we're supposed to be protected from discrimination. According to current and former employees of the Department of Housing and Urban Development under Donald Trump, they have dropped enforcement of the Federal Housing Act. In Trump's first year back in office, black unemployment spiked in this country from 6.2% all the way up to 7.5%, making it the highest of all racial groups. Under Joe Biden, black unemployment had been at a record low of 4.8%, spiking now under Donald Trump. The Trump administration, generally speaking, is bad at its work. It is bad at what it sets its mind to in all sorts of ways. But black Americans, African Americans, have been targeted by this administration in a concerted way that has nevertheless been devastating, even though the Trump administration isn't good at anything they set their mind to. And that was all before the conservative majority on the U.S. Supreme Court, including all of Trump's appointees, voted to effectively end the Voting Rights Act a few days ago. As soon as the court said they would take up that case, people started mapping the worst case scenario for what Trump and the Republicans would do, particularly in the South, if the court gutted The Voting Rights Act of 1965, the crowning achievement of the civil rights movement. And the before and after looks like the snapback after the end of Reconstruction, after the Civil War. I mean, look at the state of Louisiana there. A third of the population of Louisiana is black. Louisiana's Republican governor canceled congressional elections that are already underway in that state to rush through new maps that will presumably make sure that even though 1/3 of the population of that state is black, there will be no black representation in Congress for Louisiana at all. South Carolina, 1/4 of the population is black. They have one majority-minority district represented by an African-American Democrat, Jim Clyburn. They are going to try to get rid of that one black district, so that South Carolina is all white, all Republican in representation, while 1/4 of the people who live in that state are black. In Tennessee, 1 in 6 residents is black. Republicans now want to make sure all 9 congressional seats in Tennessee are white. All 9 of them. They want it to be 9 to nothing, white and Republican, when 1 in 6 people in that state is black. In her dissent from the majority ruling, Justice Elena Kagan said it will likely cause the largest reduction to minority representation since the end of Reconstruction. She probably didn't need to use the word likely there. The war on black Americans that is being waged by this president and this Republican Party is one of the only things they have put their mind to in this past year that they've actually done pretty well at. A comprehensive attack on black public officials and black public power. A comprehensive attack on black public officials in the federal government, black employees in the federal government, black representatives in Congress, and now all around the country, where everywhere Republicans are in charge, they are scrambling to make sure that black public officials can no longer hold office. We're going to talk tonight about the pushback against that and the strategies to make them pay for it, both in Louisiana, which is ground zero here, and around the country. We're going to talk tonight about some surprising pushback from churches and the clergy. We're going to talk tonight about a blistering takedown of Trump and the administration in federal court in Washington in a most unexpected case. But big picture here, we are in the middle of something really radical in this country. Not just to get rid of our constitutional republic, to replace our form of government with something else, but to get rid of the multiracial democracy that our Constitution is supposed to protect. It is a war on black America. The fight to save it is looking like it's going to be the fight of all of our lives. More ahead tonight. Stay with us.
This country is so racist that the government is constantly discussing the rights of black people. Everything is a discussion about race. Literally, there's so many laws put in place just to make sure that black people are treated fairly in a situation. Mind you, there's other laws and other things that basically do the exact opposite. But it's so crazy that these are still the things that are happening to this day. It's like actually kind of unbelievable, honestly. Like, I understand that the country was built off of racism, but it's like literally since black people have been in this country and there have been, settlers, but colonizers who came to this country and did all of that, there have been things put into place in order to allow black people to have more freedom or to take away freedoms. And that's been the discussion from the beginning. And now we are literally in the year 2026 and they are still doing the same thing that they've always been doing, which is literally discussing whether black people should have rights here or not have rights here, or if they should do things based off of race. Because literally there are laws in place that are only in place because of racism. Because white people didn't want black people to have XYZ. And so now there are all these laws in place to protect black people, but there are also laws that do the exact opposite of that. And it's just like, I really don't understand how it goes on for this long. Like, to the point where the government is still discussing things and putting things into place based off of race, because that's quite literally how racist it still is to this day. It's like mind-blowing. And honestly, I just say let the whole system crumble and collapse and be done with, because it was never working. Specifically for Black people, but like it really wasn't working for anyone besides the people at the very top. Black people are just the people who basically get looked at as being at the bottom. And so other minorities also mistreat Black people and also try to basically assimilate to whiteness in order to be not Black. Doing anything basically just to not be seen like Black people. And so therefore treating Black people horribly. And so we have all these things in place that are based off of race, specifically because of racism. Like all of it. That is fucking ridiculous.
The world doesn't respect Black people because we haven't done enough crimes against humanity. And I will explain. So tell me if I'm crazy, tell me if I crack the code. I have stumbled upon another TikTok of this time an African-American woman. It's always African-American people being discriminated against, being followed around, having to deal with slurs in countries that we don't even visit that much, countries that we have little to no history with. And we're constantly asking in the comments, what the fuck did we do? What did we do? We didn't do anything to them. And I think that's the issue, is that we haven't done anything to them. I'm starting to think that these different countries, these different continents only respect crazy crimes against humanity, and we have yet to do that. Like Japan, for example. Japanese people tend to have a respect and a reverence for the same group of people who did Hiroshima. Yet we're an issue, right? I feel like we don't get respect the same way that henchmen don't get respect on Batman. You feel me? It's like just a quick little obstacle to get over. There's much more reverence and much more thought going into and much more time taken to figure out how to take down Joker, how to take down Penguin, how to take down Clayface, because they're a bigger threat and there's more story to them. No one gives a fuck about the henchmen and their little petty crimes. Batman just swoops in, breaks their arm, and leaves. And I think that's the issue. If you notice, when people complain about Black people, they're always saying, you guys are always looting and loitering and shooting at each other. You're all gangbangers and da-da-da-da. And mind you, all those are crimes against each other. We don't go outside of our neighborhoods and fuck with other people that don't look like us. If we're gangbanging against somebody who looks just like us on the other side of the same neighborhood. It's never us affecting other people, and I think that doesn't get us respect. Why would I respect people that are stealing out of stores, stealing out of malls, stealing out of gas stations, when my people steal whole countries? We steal people. We steal your ideas. We steal your children and sell them off, and I'm supposed to respect you because you stole a fucking candy bar? You're small time. And I think the moment that we start getting up and, ooh, let me be quiet, I'm saying too much, but you get what I'm saying.
I've never felt unsafe in Black spaces. This is how we know reverse racism is a lie. I went to college on Long Island, and I lived in Hempstead, New York. Very Black town. I used to go to Caribbean night at my local bar. Never had a problem. Never felt unsafe. I was just at a barbecue joint in Harlem the other week with a group of white girlfriends, lily white girls. We felt completely welcome, delightful. Had a great meal, super fun time. My boyfriend and I accidentally wandered into a hookah lounge one day. We were just looking for a burger. It was kind of late. It was like 10 o'clock. And we were like, oh, that place is open. Let's go in there. We go in, the place is empty. We were like, oh gosh, are you guys closing soon? The bartender was like, oh no, like we don't get busy till like 11 or 12 at night. It's a Black hookah lounge. Completely Black staff. They took care of us. We had a fucking great time. Great burger, great service, laughs, fun music. Never once did anybody give me a stink eye or a dirty look or make me feel like I didn't belong in those spaces. Never once was I concerned for my safety. But I was on the national tour of a children's show called The Olympic Spirit. And this show was about Jesse Owens being in the Olympics, who of course was a Black athlete. So we had a Black actor in the cast portraying Jesse Owens. And we toured the Deep South, baby. I'm talking about Alabama, Arkansas, Mississippi. And it was a bus and truck tour. It wasn't fancy Broadway stuff. We played schools. So one night our van pulls into this local rest stop. It was like Pete's Chicken. And it had a gas station, which we needed gas. And Jamal and I walk into Pete's Chicken to get a little snack and to use the restroom because we were on the road. And when I tell you, every white face in that place whipped around and looked at us when we walked in together. Now, we weren't together. We were just two friends, colleagues. But he was black and I was white. And I felt the hairs stand up on the back of my neck. And I know he felt it too, because I looked over at him and I was like, this feels off. This feels weird. What's happening? And he goes, yep, let's go. I don't want to get lynched here. So we left. We just turned around, boop, and walked right out. Got in our van and drove off because we felt unsafe in a white space. The only time in my life I have felt unsafe was in a white space because they identified me in proximity to a black man and they did not like it, and I felt it in my bones. That was a formative experience for me, and it's why I like to talk about Black history in these United States, because it's not ancient history. It is still very much alive.
Hello brothers and sisters, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you are doing great from wherever you're watching this video from. Again, as you know, I'm your host and presenter Agent Stories. Now, we all know that this is not a rocket science, because this is something that has been going on for a long time. What we're just seeing a perfect example of exposing what has been going on and what it really means, but that now it's reaching majority of people, that now everyone is getting to see and really know what's going on in the United States. Black people have been targeted for the longest time. They have been targeted for the longest time. This is something that has been going on. You can see it on the news. When a black person does something, it's different when a white person does something. When a black person tries to understand their own truth, Trump calls that propaganda. Trump calls that as a person who is spreading hate. But these are just black scholars. These are just black people who are trying to educate young generation to know more about race. So many times you have seen people, especially white Americans, they don't want young children to learn about race and the effects of racism and what it costs to people, that they have better things to learn as compared to race and racism and all those things that happened. You have probably seen all these perfect examples, and this is what I'm trying to tell you. This is what Trump is afraid of. This is what white America is afraid of. So when you see them trying to say that kids deserve to be taught something better, it simply means that they are afraid that the truth will spread to younger generations. And when the truth spreads to younger generation, well, you know what that means. They don't want the truth to spread to younger generations. Because if it spreads to younger generations, they'll get to know the truth. And they will not look at them in the same way. And this explains as to why you are seeing young white Gen Zs. They don't want to hear. They don't subscribe to racism that America has. And they are calling things out. So I hope you now start to see how this makes sense and how this is a threat to what Mr. Donald Trump has been giving or has been heading to other groups of people. This is what I've been doing for the longest time, brothers and sisters. So I really don't know why you're watching this video from, but one thing that I want to tell you that I think and I hope that it makes sense to you is that we all need to know the truth. And the truth is that these folks are afraid. They are afraid of Black history. They are afraid of people getting to know what happened. They are afraid of just knowing the truth and how everything unraveled. That's why they'll do anything to make sure that you don't get to know the truth. They'll do anything to make sure that you don't know the truth. That's how all these group of folks have been working. And that's how they do their stuff. That's how all these things come to happen. So if you get it, you'll now start to understand the reason as to why Black people, they are attacked. So brothers and sisters, I really don't know why you're watching this video from, but I hope you really get to see the truth. I hope you really get to understand how all these things happened and how they have been happening for the longest time. And if that makes sense to you, Please let me know in the comment section what you all think about this, because this is a subject. This is something that needs to be addressed, needs to be talked about. So for the longest time, this is something that has been going on, except that majority of people, majority of us, I'll accept that we are now just starting to know or to get it right now. But this is something that has been happening for the longest time. This is something that has been going on for the longest time. All these black attacks that you see are happening, attacking black education, black history, not wanting black people to celebrate Black History Month. We all know that this is something that has been going on. And it has been going on for the longest time. It has been happening for the longest time. It is just that it has not been addressed massively. But this is something that has been going on. So brothers and sisters, please let me know what you all think about this video, right? I just want to know your opinion in regards to this. As you know, I'm your host and presenter Agent Stories, and thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching this video. But until then, let me see you in my next video. Peace, love, and harmony. Salute.